Sean, what's going on? There's no crying in fantasy week 5. We are back. We are back. How you feeling this week?
I'm feeling good, making some trades in fantasy as I always do. Um, I'm feeling pretty good. One of my teams is 2-3, which is not great, but honestly, I had everybody on a bye last week, so I should be straight from here on out.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you if
Right,
you if you had most of your players on bye week, you're in a good position.
right. I had majority of my players. I made a trade before like last Friday, and I didn't realize some of the players that I traded for was on a buy to already pair with people already had going on a buy. So I took the L, not by much though, honestly, but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. I had a pretty strong week last week. I think I went 6-2 last week, so pretty
Nice.
good. Did lose Justin Jefferson, which we'll
Me
talk
too.
about.
Yeah.
So big loss right there.
Huge loss. I mean, and we'll get into it, but yeah, that sucks, man. And it even sucks when you're in a dynasty league too, and it's like you just got to keep them for now on. Like you can't even drop them,
Yeah.
like because you got to keep them for the next year. It's
Yep.
whatever. It happens.
So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the injuries.
So injuries. So basically, I'm just gonna go down basically team to team in order. So Cardinals. You know, James Conner's on IR. We know that. So that leaves Keontae Ingram and I can't pronounce the dude's name.
Amara DiMercato.
Exactly. So you got them two next up in line. What do you think about those two?
I like DiMercato. I'm
Really, you like him over Ingram? Ingram's also questionable, by the way, but he's listed
yeah.
as the number one running back.
I know he's listed higher on the depth chart, but from what I've seen from both in action, I like DiMercato a little bit better than Ingram. Ingram just hasn't flashed to
Play.
me
And
when he's behind Connor. So it's like I don't know how he's gonna step into a number one role where DiMercato actually looked pretty good in his limited work when Connor went out.
Right, and I couldn't really pick up Democado because you know people were going ham on the fab button, but uh, so I ended up picking up Ingram. It's whatever, So we see what happens there. I think you're right. I think Democado will end up, he might be even the starter. I don't know if Ingram even plays.
Yep.
Um, so on to the next one, Falcons. Nothing important there. Ravens, Odell out with another injury. You might as well not even pay attention to that dude.
If
Uh,
it's not Mark Andrews, I don't want it. I don't want
exactly.
anything. I don't want anything on the Ravens.
Well, I was trying to get Say Flowers on the
Oh,
on the
yes,
cheap,
Zay Flowers. Yes, yeah,
but they wouldn't do it. Keaton Mitchell, I was hoping he was coming off IR. I was hoping he may be active. Maybe a good stash play, especially if you have multiple IR slots. Throw him in. Because he still has the IR label on him. Just throw him in your IR, stash him away because he could have some potential there. Um, let's see on the next team, Bills. They got two tight ends questionable, Knox and Kincaid. One of them's at least playing for sure. I
yeah.
can't I can't imagine both of them out.
I have Knox higher than Kincaid right now. I think you'll see Kincaid probably get more, um, more work later in the season, but it's not a great situation for either or right now.
Right. If you expected Kincaid to be what Sam Laporta is right now, which that is another injury. When we get to the lines, we'll talk about Laporta. Um, he's questionable, by the way. Bills, this is a good one for the Bills because that leaves a second player out for the year for him on defense. Matt Milano, big time player. Uh, I don't know if you can trust the Bills defense anymore in fantasy.
No, I actually started Jacksonville, like I told you last week was going to be Trevor
You
Lawrence,
did.
and
You did.
they were traveling. They're down Tre'Davious White. They just lost Matt Milano. I think that defense is not what you thought it was going to be. So if you have players that are going up against Buffalo, I wouldn't be scared to play them. If you were thinking about sitting them, it seems like a much better matchup for offensive players than it was earlier in the season.
For sure, and you did call it. You did call it. So that was a good take you had last week. Carolina, Miles Sanders, questionable shoulder, did not participate in today's practice, by the way. So Chuba Hubbard, he's a guy, maybe try to trade for if you can, because I think once he hits the ground running, maybe he'll, take the starting job away from Sanders, because he looked good last year. So, let's monitor that situation for sure.
Yeah, I
Know,
like Chuba. I'm inching Chuba up a little bit higher on my list above Miles Sanders just because of how much better he's looked than Miles. And then also you got to factor in the injury risk with Miles. And they're playing in an offense where they're not getting, a lot of run behind the line of scrimmage. Like that line of scrimmage, I mean, that offensive line is terrible. If you're looking for somebody, Chuba is involved in the pass game, as I said before. So I would just pick Chuba up and stash him if you have room and just wait for later in the season.
and not to mention they're always behind. So, like, I think even though Miles Sanders, he's a good dual threat running back, I think Chuba might be a little better in the passing game. You know, so coming from an air raid offense out of college, Oklahoma State, you know, he's a guy maybe that fits more into heavy passing.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Chicago Bears. Komet is questionable hamstring, limited today.
I think he plays.
He plays. Now, this is important right here. Yeah, I think he will play. Khalil Herbert, doubtful, didn't practice. So, and then Roshan Johnson is questionable. So that leaves it all on Dante Foreman, right?
Yep. If you need a running back, pick up Dante Foreman because I don't think Roshan's going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. Khalil Herbert's out multiple weeks. I think if you're looking for something past this week and Roshan is out there, get Roshan. I actually picked Roshan up in a couple of leagues just because I think he's going to be the man in that backfield eventually. And this gives him an opportunity after this week to start in that offense and show, what he's capable of doing. So when Khalil Herbert comes back, I think you're going to see Herbert kind of slide back into that role that he was when David Montgomery was there.
That's an interesting take. And what round did they draft Roshan Johnson in? Like the third, fourth?
Yeah, about the third round.
So I mean that does make sense. But a lot of people were big on Dante Foreman. A lot of people, he had a solid season with Carolina last year. I think he was a free agent pickup last year for Carolina. I'm not too sure on that one. But a lot of people are big on him, and they're trying to sell high in these trades that are being offered to me. And I'm like, I'm not that interested in Foreman. It's Dante Foreman. It's a sort of a crowded backfield, a bunch of meh. You know what I'm saying? Just a bunch of meh running backs. So, and you got to realize Justin Fields probably takes majority of the rushing yards, and he's probably constantly running the ball himself. So,
well, Dante Foreman's been a healthy scratch. What, the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks? So I don't think that they really want to put him out there that much. It's just they have 2 injured running backs, and he's the only other option right now. So, and Darrington Evans they just brought him up from the practice squad. So there's not a lot out there. But I think Roshan Johnson is the better play going forward. Dante Foreman, if you need a running back this week.
For sure. Bengals, T. Higgins, questionable, limited participant. Sounds like he will play, huh?
I think he's playing.
Let's see. Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, big news today. He is out. So that leaves PJ Walker, right?
At least PJ Walker, and I'm benching all of my Browns. I'm so done with the Browns. Like, I just want to vent about Deshaun Watson for 1 second because I have him and I have Anthony Richardson on the same team.
Damn,
But
bro.
I am out two quarterbacks this week. But I am so
That's
sick of
rough.
this. I'm so sick of Deshaun Watson. Like I'm gonna cut him, and I'm just gonna be fine with cutting him because he just hasn't added much. And the fact that he was just about to play before the bye, and then you come out of the bye and you're still not ready, something doesn't sound right to me in that Cleveland locker room. That I think it's more than just an injury to me right now. There's something not right.
Yeah, and I don't think when it's ever right in Cleveland, you know. So I mean, it all started with Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb seemed like their only, you know, not like a functional player or
Yeah,
person in that entire franchise, and he goes down, and it's just almost like, damn, is Browns might not even make the playoffs anymore because the Steelers are winning games, and I know Matt Canada sucks, but yeah, Cleveland. I have Amari Cooper. I don't know what to do with him. It sucks for sure.
yeah.
So let's
And then, and
see.
then and then you also have Njoku who almost blew his face off. So they're just cursed all around.
Jesus, yeah. Did you see the actual his
Yeah, I
actual
saw
face yet?
I saw the photo. Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy, man. There's also questionable Jerome Ford. He's also questionable.
he's playing. I
But
think I think he was full today or limited. He's playing.
yes, that's correct. They said it isn't a concern. So it sounds like he is playing for sure. Um, Cowboys. Let's see. Tony Pollard, questionable, limited. Sounds like he's playing.
He's playing.
If not, if not, just in case, Rico
We
isn't
go
a bad
Dowd.
ad. And I have Deuce in my dynasty, but I don't think he'll play. I wish they would though, man. I wish they would. Because I feel like Deuce, if he gets that chance, man, I think he'll make some big plays, but it's not going to happen
Eventually, I think eventually.
eventually. They did get defensive wise, another player for them went down, Leighton Vander Esch. Uh, he is placed on injury reserve. He might be out for the year. I don't know. Neck injury.
Yeah, that's another defense that started off hot in the beginning of the season, and they may not have as much value going forward because of all the injuries that they have.
Yeah, and I remember people were trading for Dallas's defense after the first few weeks, and also I think people forgot what teams they actually played, and it's just like, maybe some people overrated the Cowboys, um, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yep.
Broncos. So apparently there's going to be a big firestorm as far as trading players for the Broncos. So you might see
Free
some
Jerry
big.
Judy. Free Jerry Judy.
You try to get him in Philadelphia?
Nah, I don't want him, but I'm just saying from a fantasy perspective, free Jerry Judy. Get him out of Denver, please.
What about Sutton? Do you think there's any chance he gets traded?
I don't
Or
think
you think
so.
that,
I think
yeah,
they keep Sutton.
for sure. Um, yeah, free Jerry Judy. And, McLaughlin might get some more playing time, even with Javante coming back.
Yeah.
And I know you said don't do it just yet, but every day that passes by, and tonight will be my judgment call for Javante Williams. But you know, every day that goes by, the more I'm thinking about just dropping him. Just like you just said about Deshaun Watson, I kind of just want to do the same thing with Javante Williams.
Yeah, tonight is the last straw with Javante. If he can't get it going tonight, I think he either ride your bench or you just drop him and find somebody else, or you try to trade him. You're not going to get much back for him right now, but it just hasn't looked good. And if Chase starts stealing some of that work that he was getting last week, it may get ugly for Javante pretty quick. So I'm sorry to all the Javante owners out there.
It's been a huge bust. I'm not gonna lie. I was really high on him. So Lions, Jameer Gibbs, questionable hamstring, didn't practice today.
I don't think
So
anybody was starting Jameer Gibbs over the last couple of weeks anyway. It's just not
Yeah,
been good for Jameer Gibbs. David Montgomery is the guy. Um, a lot of fantasy owners had high hopes for Jameer Gibbs, but I just don't think he's ready. Like as a rookie behind a veteran back like that, the veteran is always going to get the first touches, and David Montgomery has just looked good, so they're just going to continue
he
to ride the
has.
hot hand.
For sure, and I'm glad I traded Gibbs when I did, and I was able to get Austin Eckler out of it. So it was a good move. I traded him like 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So uh, yeah, his time would come. It's still a long season. I know we're heading to week 6 already, but and we're almost halfway, almost 3 more games, I guess. But it's still a long season. I mean, he could break out at any time, to be honest with you. But it doesn't help that David Montgomery has been sort of a beast this year. So, and
Yep.
he's been doing it on both phases of the game, rushing and receiving. And now he hasn't been big receiving, but when the ball has come to him through the air, he's done a good job. So and not to mention, he probably gets on the field more because he's probably a better blocker in passing situations as well. So at this point, and you're right, he may not be ready, but if you're in a dynasty, stay patient because I don't think Montgomery's a long term plan. Gibbs is the long term. That's why you draft them in the first round for a reason. So
Yep.
we'll see how that goes. Sam Laporta questionable, did not practice. That's not looking good. Um,
Yeah, that's a concerning one because it's later in the week. Popped up on the injury report. It doesn't sound like he's going to go this weekend.
Calf injury too. So you could pick up Brock Wright, which is he's a Dan Campbell favorite, honestly. Because he's one of them players that probably reminds Dan Campbell of himself. Um, so he would be a serviceable play if you have Sam Porter yourself, but there's some waiver options out there you can grab that probably will be better than Brock Wright. You can even grab Noah Gray if Kelsey's not, a go. So
Yep.
uh, there's some
Well, Kelsey's
options for you.
playing. Kelsey's playing.
Kelsey's playing, so never mind on the Noah Gray situation. But there's definitely some options. I seen Logan Thomas available in one of my leagues, so that's a great option there. Jake Ferguson, even though he had a bad game against the 49ers, the whole Cowboys had a bad game, so I'm not
Yeah.
really worried about that. So I
Dalton
mean, there's
Schultz
Dalton Schultz. He's coming to life.
and
After a slow start.
Tank Dell potentially out.
Yeah. So hey, yeah, for sure. So there's definitely options at tight end in the waiver wire for sure. So uh let's see. Packers. I don't think there's anybody there. Texans, Tank Dell, questionable, did not practice today, like you just
Yep.
said. Uh Robert Woods limited.
He's playing.
Um playing now Noah Brown coming off IR. He's a guy they kind of liked when they signed him, coming from the Cowboys. Uh, do you think he's a go? And do you think he gets a service amount of targets?
No, I think
No,
it's going to be Nico Collins, Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz in the run game. That's the only thing that I would play from the Texans.
for sure, for sure. And Texas plays my Saints. That's going to be a good game right there. So Colts, Anthony Richardson, IR. Hey, don't knock the Minshew though. Don't knock the Minshew. And he might not be a runner, but I think Minshew makes Pittman more favorable, and Alec Pierce maybe. So I like Minshew going in. He might not win games, but hey, might make the passing offense better.
I like Minshew this week as a sleeper, going against Jacksonville. I think it's going to be a tough division matchup, but Jacksonville's secondary isn't great. So I think if you're looking for a play, like if you have Deshaun Watson or if you had Anthony Richardson, Minshew is as good as it gets, with this matchup as well. And there's one other that I'll talk about in a second.
For sure. Let's see. Jacksonville. Nothing really important there. Chiefs, like we just said, Kelsey. You said Kelsey's playing.
Kelsey's active.
There's no other Chiefs. They're good. So Raiders, Devontae Adams questionable. He'll play. He's limited. Chargers.
Can we go back to the Raiders? So if
Yes.
you have Devontae Adams, I'm sorry.
Yes.
If you have Justin Jefferson and Jacoby Myers is still out on the wire, go pick up Jacoby Myers, please.
He's been balling.
That is somebody that you can put in, I think, every week right now, and he can replace some of the production that you're going to lose for Justin Jefferson.
And especially if Devontae Adams is going to keep flip flopping off of not playing and playing with this injury, So I mean, and he seems to be one of Jimmy G's favorite target, that Patriot Way connection there. So I mean, I agree. Pick up Jacoby Myers. I already got him, so I've been starting him every week pretty much.
Yeah.
And I had, besides that, he was out for a week. Besides the week he was out, obviously, but I've been starting him every week, and that's over guys like Addison and like Christian Watson, and because I have serviceable guys on the bench, and I'm starting them over them. So he's definitely a starter in my opinion.
I agree.
He might not be wide receiver 1, but he's definitely a pretty good wide receiver 2.
Yep, 2-3. Yeah,
2-3. Great flex.
Yep.
Maybe a really good flex, solid 2 and 3 wide receiver. Let's see. Chargers, there's nothing there. Rams, don't see anything there. Okay, Dolphins. A-Chain goes on IR.
Yep.
Jeff Wilson may come back. I don't know if there's been any word on that, if he's coming back or not just yet.
They opened up his 21-day practice window, so
right.
I think he has been practicing this week, so we'll see if he gets on Sunday.
He's limited today.
Yeah, so I say if Wilson isn't back and you need somebody, Ahmed, he's going to be he's going to be the backup. So he will probably get good amount of touches going against the Giants. It's a favorable matchup. Who knows? They may get up early and just start running the ball really early in that game. So
I just feel like you could probably put anybody in that backfield right now, and I feel like they'll go off. Like you even if it comes down to what's his name, Chris Brooks, they're like 4th or 5th string running back. I think if it comes down to him at one point, I don't think he'll even ball out. That's how good the Dolphins' offense has been, and Mike McDaniel has opened up a new level of that offense because they weren't running the ball like this last year. So, I mean, Amen, like you said, Jeff Wilson, if he's playing, definitely Jeff Wilson. So
if Jeff Wilson is on your wire, go pick him up. Yeah,
for sure. So I think I'm just gonna go name by name. Just tell me to stop. We'll talk about it. Let's see. Jordan Addison, questionable. He's going to play for sure. Okay, Justin Jefferson. So Justin Jefferson, we definitely got to talk about him. So injured reserve. You think he comes back week 10? That's my biggest question.
I'm not sure. If they start losing a lot of games, which could happen, I'm not sure if he comes back. As a Justin Jefferson owner, I'm terrified right now because I don't know if I'm going to get him back. They've been kind of downplaying it and saying, yeah, he's going to be back. But Jordan Addison, I think, is going to be the number one. I know everybody's high on KJ Osborne, but I'm actually kind of higher on Brandon Powell than I am on KJ Osborne. And if you watch the game on Sunday, Brandon Powell got, I think, 7 targets after Justin Jefferson left. So I think he's going to kind of slot into more of a role that Kirk Cousins is going to look to over KJ Osborne.
6 targets. You're
6
right.
targets. Yeah. And that was in limited time. So I say if you need somebody, if you need a receiver, pick up Brandon Powell.
Yeah, he had 7.17 yards per target, 10.775 yards per catch. So he had 4 receptions out of 6 targets. So that's not bad. And the thing is, a lot of people are high on KJ, but the thing is, he's been playing. He's been playing 91% of the snaps this
Right.
year, and let's see what did he do? He hardly did anything the last game with Jefferson out. So I
Yep.
mean, he did have 9 targets, but he only caught 5 of them. And people think he's just going to slide into the Jefferson role. The guy who's going to step in the Jefferson role is going to be Addison for
Addison.
one,
Yeah.
because that's why they drafted him in the first round for. And honestly, that's a guy I'm buying high right now. Addison, if he's healthy, that's a guy I'm buying high right now because he's definitely got the talent, and the target's going to be going his way for sure.
Yep. I agree.
Let's see. Patriots, nothing there to be worried about. Saints, Jawan, he's probably going to be out again, to be honest with you. Giants. Daniel Jones is out, isn't he?
I think he's going to be out. I think Saquon's going to be out as well.
Ooh, that's horrible.
Yep.
Honestly, they might be better with Tyrod. Do you think Tyrod brings him any value offensive wise over Daniel
No.
Jones? No.
If you wanted to start Buffalo, this is the week.
It might be the only week, honestly.
Right.
Jets. They did lose their. Is he the left or right guard? Farrah Tucker.
Right guard.
Right guard. He's out for this season. So, do you think that affects like Brees Hall's value, and do you think it makes it harder for Zach Wilson in the passing game?
Oh, definitely. He's one of the best guards in the game right now. So losing him is definitely critical. And going against Philly this week, that's not a bad. That's a bad look with that defensive line going against Zach Wilson. So if you have Brees Hall and you have to start him, but I wouldn't be expecting much. And also for Garrett Wilson or any other pass catchers that you have on the Jets, I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Man, the Jets they're trying, man, but they just keep getting blow after blow. All right, Eagles. Jalen Carter did not practice today.
Not concerned.
Not concerned, like you said. They're playing the Jets, like you said.
Not concerned.
Steelers. I think Deontay Johnson's coming back. Is what I heard.
After the bye, yeah, I think he's coming back.
So that's a good sign for Kenny Pickett. Now, they did win against the Ravens, but I think they won more that maybe the Ravens were struggling offensively. So, do you get any value with Deion Johnson or what?
I think there is some value with him when he comes back, but I think we've seen that George Pickens has the chemistry with Kenny Pickett. So I think you're going to see George Pickens get more involved than he probably was in like the first 2 weeks. So Deontay probably slides into that number 2. There's not much upside outside of a PPR league. So if you have like a standard or a half-point PPR, you're not going to get much from Deontay.
Yeah, and I mean, Allen Robinson's been playing that Deontay Johnson spot since Deontay Johnson's been out, and he hasn't really done much. So, I think an upgrade is needed there, and I think Deontay Johnson would at least be better than Allen Robinson, but that's not saying much.
Not at all.
Not at all. There's no injuries in the 49ers that are really important. Seattle, DK Metcalf didn't practice Wednesday. I don't know about today. If he doesn't play, you look at Lockett as a sure start, and maybe you look at JSN as a flex play. Maybe if DK is out.
I like Lockett if DK's out, but I think DK plays.
Yeah. Who does Seattle's playing again this week?
Seattle plays Cincinnati. It's a tough
Yeah,
matchup. It's a tough
yeah.
matchup. They're on the road. Cincinnati has a tough secondary.
That makes sense. Tampa. Let's see. Mike Evans questionable, limited. He's gonna play, especially coming off a bye. And let's see. Tennessee. Traylon Burks out with the knee, won't travel to London. Um, that leaves more targets for Hopkins and uh, Westbrook. And
I'm
honestly,
starting Hopkins. Tajay Spears. I think it opens it up for Tajay Spears as well.
do you think? Do you think? Because I believe if I'm not mistaken, I can't even pronounce their tight end's name because it's another name
Okonkwo.
that's hard.
Okonkwo.
Yes, because I believe he's number one in targets on that team. If I'm not mistaken, right?
He is. It just hasn't translated to much for fantasy perspective. I think D Hop is the one that you want out of that offense if you're going to start anybody. But like I said, I think it opens it up for
For
Tajay Spears.
Tajay.
Yeah.
And isn't Derrick Henry struggling a little bit? Like he's not, obviously he's not the same King Henry, but people are starting to devalue him now. What do you think about King Henry?
I wouldn't devalue him. It's still fairly early in the season. I know that Tennessee has had some really tough matchups so far. Um, I think you got to ride with him for right now and just see how it works out. Who do they go up against this week? Tennessee is playing Baltimore. So it's not a terrible matchup this week. I think he can be effective. And that's a highly contested matchup where it's not a division game, but it feels like a division game when they play because they don't like each other going back from the playoffs a couple years ago. But Tennessee's at home. I think Derrick Henry gets more involved. But from the passing game perspective, I think it's D Hop and probably Tajay gets involved in the passing game as well.
I see that game going one of two ways. I think either the Ravens just absolutely blow the Titans out, or I think it's just going to be one hard nosed smash mouth football game. And I
Yep.
think it's more likely, but you know, I don't know. The Ravens somehow could get hot, and I think they're the more talented team. We'll see what happens. That's just about it on injuries. Did I miss anybody? Did you? I don't think I did.
No,
That was every.
we covered them all. Yep.
So starts. Let's go. Let's go ahead and move into starts. You go first, and then I'll go second.
So I've got a sleeper, a couple. I wouldn't call them sleepers, but one sleeper is Ritter. I like Ritter this week. If you need a quarterback, I'm starting Ritter. Going against Washington. Washington has one of the worst secondaries. You just saw what Chicago did to Washington. So that could
Yes.
speak volumes. I think Atlanta being at home, I just think this is a Ritter game where it's going to be a lot of Bijan. It's going to be a lot of Drake London. You're going to see Kyle Pitts and
Van Jefferson. No. No.
not
No.
yet, not yet. Janu has really stepped up, so I like Desmond Ritter this week. If you need a quarterback, Ramondre going against Vegas. I think this is the Ramondre week. If you're waiting for it, he's looked terrible, but going against Vegas, Vegas is one of the worst against the run. I think this is the week that you see Ramondre get on track. Also, Devontae Smith. I know he's been struggling. I think Sauce Gardner is going to be on AJ this week. So if you need, you're already starting Devontae, but I just say Devontae is a start this week. Tight end. Tight end is so ugly. But if you need a tight end, why not go Darren Waller if he plays this week? I know he struggled, but Darren Waller could be a good option
Security
again going
blanket.
against Buffalo. Yeah. And with Daniel Jones being out, they're going to need somebody that can play those short intermediate routes. There's going to be a lot of passing on the Giants side, so Darren Waller could be a good option. From a defensive perspective, I know it's Minshew mania, but I like Jacksonville this week. With
Me too.
Anthony Richardson out, I think Jacksonville could be a sneaky defense. They haven't given up a lot of points. They have a good amount of sacks and turnovers. So if you need a defense, I think Jacksonville is that defense.
I picked up Jacksonville. It was either Jacksonville or Miami, and I went Jacksonville. Hey, this might be Bryce Young's coming out party this week against Miami. Maybe he'll try to match the offensive firepower of Miami. I highly doubt it though. Although
can it be a coming out party if he doesn't win though?
I guess not. I guess not.
Yeah, I think he's going to be chasing points. So he's probably going to throw a lot, and he's going to get a lot of yards, maybe a couple of touchdowns. But I just think
fantasy-wise, he might be good.
Right, fantasy-wise, yeah.
So my starts here: Matthew Stafford against Arizona. Arizona secondary kind of trash, right? So and you got Cooper Kupp, Puka's still balling. Hey, I mean Matthew Stafford. Start him all day long.
Yep.
Running back. Let's see here. This is kind of off the dome right here, to be honest with you. I didn't even do this beforehand. I did not come prepared. I'm sorry about that. But I do like Isaiah Pacheco, who has the hot hand here. Going against a struggling Denver. Breece Hall went off with that huge run. Give me Isaiah Pacheco again. I think I had him last week, if I'm not mistaken.
I like that. Yep.
Yeah. Ride the hot hand. Pacheco. Wide receiver. Let's go to wide receiver. Let's see here. I do like CD Lamb to have a bounce back week. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have the greatest week against 49ers. I guess nobody had a good week for the Cowboys. But the Chargers secondary is another secondary that's struggling. They traded J.C. Jackson, even though he wasn't doing any good for them. Obviously, they are struggling. So I expect CD Lamb to make a comeback, especially playing against his former offense coordinator, Kellen Moore. Maybe there'd be some, rivalry going on right there. Who knows? McCarthy's going to want to come out good because he's feeling it a little bit. He's getting the backlash. He's going against his offense coordinator. Yep. So let's say if he does bad, and let's say Kellen Moore just absolutely destroys him, and Brandon Staley, I mean, that's a bad look, So I want CD Lamb, and I think he will. He will ball out this week, make a bounce back game. Tight end. Let's see here. Give me. Honestly, I like Jake Ferguson against the Chargers, but give me Logan Thomas. Give me Logan Thomas against Atlanta.
I like it.
It's in a dome, no weather. He's been balling lately. Logan Thomas. Defense, I have to agree with you on the Jacksonville defense. I'm a guy who streams defenses. So Jacksonville, no Anthony Richardson. I think they already Jacksonville and Indy's already played first week. And I'm pretty sure Jacksonville dominated that game, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So I kind of expect them, Jacksonville should dominate again. They should. But, the Colts, in my opinion, have been somewhat surprising to me. You still got Zach Moss going off. It's going to be interesting because they already reporting that they're ramping up JT. So, I mean, it's interesting how that's going to go. Maybe the offense for Indy stalls a little bit. maybe JT is not 100% in game shape, so maybe that will stall their offense. Minshew, that's Jacksonville, good defense
Yep.
play. So I'll let you go ahead with your sits. You go first with the sits.
So my sits for quarterback. Uh, who did I have on here for this week? Oh man, Geno Smith, sit. Uh, Wide receiver, Amari Cooper, of course. Um, for running back, Brees Hall. I think you got to sit Brees. For wide receiver, that's tough. I'm going to go ahead and say Debo for this week. I would say Debo and possibly Brandon Ayuk because Cleveland's secondary has just been very stingy giving up any yards and pass game, any touchdowns. I think it's going to be a tough game for Brock Purdy. I think San Francisco still wins this game, but I think Cleveland's defense makes it pretty difficult as well.
Is Cleveland coming off a bye?
Cleveland's coming off the bye too. Yep.
So my thing is, like, we seen the last time Deshaun Watson was out, right? They got blown out by the Ravens, huh?
Yep. Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I just think coming off the bye, I think Cleveland's defense is going to make it a little bit tough. Yeah. But I just don't like. I don't like. Debo just hasn't put up a lot of fantasy points as well.
He hasn't.
So I'm just a little worried about Debo from a fantasy perspective right now, and then going against Cleveland.
It doesn't seem like he has that great of a chemistry with Purdy. It seems like Purdy likes Ayuk, and it seems like he's targeting Kittle a lot more as well. So there's definitely some chemistry issues there. So that's a good point.
Yep. For tight end, I'm going to say Mark Andrews this week going against Tennessee. I think that's going to be a tough matchup for the Ravens. And then from a defense, I think the Jets going against Philly. I just can't start the Jets this week.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm gonna do this quickly. CJ Stroud, sit. Sorry. That's all. It's probably a little hot take. Hey, New Orleans defense. I know they played against New England, but Marcus May comes back off of suspension, so that even helps the secondary. I'm pretty sure Adebo is going to come off an injury. So the Saints defense, for how good it's been so far, they might be even better. The only problem with this team is the offense, but that's not what I'm worried about with CJ Stroud. I'm worried about that defense. He's going to throw his first interception. I'm calling it right now. Let's see. Real quickly, Josh Jacobs. A lot of people, been raving about him because he's been going off, and I know they played New England at home, and I know New England kind of sucks, but New England is desperate playing against Josh McDaniels. I don't think Belichick's going to want to come out and, embarrass himself for the third week in a row, especially against his former, assistant coach or whatever. So, I mean, I think Josh Jacobs, and you know how Belichick is, he loves to target the opposing team star players. I think Josh Jacobs, man, you're not going to sit Josh Jacobs. That might not be a good one, but hey, I'm just warning you. He might not have the greatest of game like he has the previous few weeks. Let's see. Everybody thinks Mike Evans is going to have a good game. Not too sure, but I'm not going to say sit him. You know what? I would sit Nico Collins. That's another Texan I would sit. I'm not trying to be biased here. I'm just telling you, this might mean take Dell if he plays. Might get more into targets because I do notice this defense struggles more with speed. So if anything, we struggle with speed. Burners do give us some trouble sometimes. If anything, I think Tank Dell is going to go off against us. I think Nico, who is more physical and bigger than Tank, we have physical corners, man-to-man physical corners. He might struggle. I say sit Nico if you can. If you can, tight end. I'm going to go ahead and sit Evan Ingram. Sit Evan Ingram against Indy. Indy, the main reason why they have been winning, the defense hasn't been too bad. The defense has been solid. Akue, whatever his name is, their linebacker they signed in free agency, he's been pretty damn good. I don't know if Agakwe.
Yeah.
I don't know if Darius Leonard has he been playing this year? That's the one thing.
He was out, I think, the first couple of games, but he's back now.
Okay, good. So I mean, those linebackers could cover, and they're going to be covering Evan Ingram. So sit Evan Ingram. Defensive wise, I don't think you start. Let's see. I'm looking defensive wise. You're probably not going to start, Dallas maybe against the Chargers. You got Diggs out. Didn't Michael Parsons flirted with the injury report a little bit? I didn't even see him on there.
Yeah,
though.
he got kind of sideswiped by one of his linemen trying to make a tackle. They hit him on his side. I don't think it's a big concern, but he was out for a couple of plays, so that's probably what you're seeing on the injury report this week.
I got you. I mean, yeah, let's run with it. I'm gonna go with Dallas. Sit Dallas defense. So those are my sits. I know you got to get out of here pretty soon. Was there anything we left out?
I don't think so. Nothing much. I think we talked about pretty much a lot of our sleepers during the injuries and covered our start sits. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week, week 6. Best of luck to everybody. And you know the motto.
There's no crying in fantasy.
There's no crying in fantasy.
All right.
You can listen to us, but if it doesn't work out, don't
come to us. Yeah, man. You can't blame us, So
don't call us crying. So, all right, everyone. Good luck on week 6, and we'll see you for week 7. All right.
All right. Go Saints.